Okay, so absolutely fantastic honor to be talking to two gentlemen who, one of which I've spoken to on many occasions before. The other, this is my very first opportunity to speak to him. We're talking to essentially, can we call it royalty of ITFSA? We're talking to the president and senior vice president of International Taekwondo Federation of South Africa, Jaren Phillips, and his brother, Brannon Phillips. Gentlemen, welcome to Ruckus Media. Thank you for your time. Jaren, you're coming from Cape Town. Brannon, you're all the way from the good old US of A.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Mark, for having us.
Right, so just at the outset, just for the people watching out there, there's a very special reason why I wanted to chat to the two of you, and we'll get to that reason now. But essentially, for the viewers out there, we're talking to a set of brothers who started on a journey in Taekwondo as young as the age of 4 years old. And over the period of this journey into Taekwondo and into martial arts, which those familiar with the show, familiar with previous podcasts of mine, will know that this is, for Jaren, and I'm certain, Brannon, for you, exactly the same. This is not just about getting into a gym, hitting a couple of pads, getting a workout and walking out and then carrying on with life. You two are essentially brothers in the art and the way of Taekwondo. And that is reflected in probably the most amazing honor to be bestowed on both of you. You have, as of late last year, been promoted to 7th degree black belts within ITF Taekwondo, which makes you the first and only ever South Africans to achieve that accolade, and one of only, or two of only 3 people on the African continent to achieve that accolade. So guys, absolutely fantastic. And if there was audience behind, there should be a round of applause. So Jaren,
Thanks, Mark.
Jaren, from your point of view, I know we've spoken a lot about this. This accolade of being essentially labeled a master in the sport. I mean, how big is it for someone like you that started at such a young age?
Sure. I think it's quite a milestone, Mark, to be able to accomplish something. You know, when we're younger, we have this viewpoint and this dream to attain high levels in what we love most. And Brannon and I have loved martial arts our whole life. We come from a family of martial arts. You know, and it was also a little bit moving over from the Japanese side of the art from when we were young, before the age of 12, and then going into the Korean side. I think what brought us a little bit closer, because we had to prove to the family that that Taekwondo can sustain till the very last end, and we've done that. So, yeah, we're happy about that. And I think that one of the most amazing things to go through on this experience is that when you're younger, it's about being that great master. But when you attain the mastership, it's how do we serve and give back and allow whatever we've experienced to be shared and received from all our students and everybody else in Africa. You know, if we can set the way forward, that people can realize that in martial arts, you know, we can't just say it's a lifelong journey, but we also say it's a way of life. And by trusting that way of life, if they're seeing like young guys under the age of 50 attaining mastership in ITF Taekwondo, for us, it's always kept us on the narrow path. We've known the dedication it takes and the time that one needs in order to fulfill the real essence of what we're doing, you know. But that's also, that amplifies to all our students in the future generations, because if they know that we've been able to attain 7th Dan in Taekwondo now, they can do it too. And we can all be senior masters one day sitting around the table. And, you know, it's such a fulfillment in one's journey if one's true to oneself, if there's no sensationalism, and if you haven't been fueled by ego and pride and you know, having your title on every car driving and billboard and this, and it's not about that. You know, this is about allowing a young kid, you know, to absorb and inherit the beautiful tenets of Taekwondo and what we stand for, our moral precepts and culture that we teach, you know, out of their environment. This is an environment they've chosen for themselves to take forward. So that confidence starts getting planted. And if we can reshape and help people to gain confidence and to better their lives and to trust in their dojangs, which is, we always say to the guys, when you come here, leave the problems outside, because Taekwondo will allow you to fuel yourself to make the right decision. And if not, we are all here, you know. So that's been such a wonderful fulfillment. And then there's also the, you know, Brannon and myself have been very hard on each other for, we must represent the essence and authenticity of what Taekwondo is all about. And we want to stand true to that. That is what fuels us today. It's about being able to let that practitioner understand that the degree of separation between technical ability and how we deliver that it all resides within ourselves. I mean, we can't do it for the student. We can only help the student to understand the dynamics and everything that we're trying to teach and, you know, allowing them to inherit. So to work with people on this level and to work with your students and to help grow the art and allow people to realize that anybody can get to this level. It's just about consistency and commitment and believing in yourself, persevering, you know, and that's what it's all about. And if we can lead that and hold that flame for everybody in every martial art in South Africa and around the world, then people will realize why it's been practiced for so many thousand years. The essence is real. The Jing is undeniable. Yeah. So that's what it's for. You know, it's been wonderful, really and truly. It was a big challenge.
I can imagine.
Yeah. We won't talk about the grading. It was, you know, I think the dynamics of Brand being in the States and me being here, I think the Grandmasters were having a little bit of fun about this, because they know that they could start with me and end with Brannon when, you know, they wanted to see, they kept us separate, you know, which is quite cool, because we've never done a grading without each other. So this was almost like a stepping into a new chapter of independence that's interdependent, but not codependent, because we've been extremely codependent on each other. You know, if I don't see something, Brannon's there to tell me. He's there to tell me on all senses, boy. If I don't get it, and vice versa. We work very closely, and I think that's also a part of the recipe of what we've been able to attain, is the trust in brotherhood. And again, delving into martial arts, this is what we teach. We teach that we are all brothers and sisters, free from ideology, race, and color. You know, it's about creating this beautiful haven that we can all escape to and condition the body at the same time and learn who we truly are. Yeah. So, yeah, Mark, it's been amazing, man, and it's wonderful to share it with you guys again.
Brannon, from your point of view, Jaren talks about the flame that is being kept burning inside. Obviously, the fact that the two of you have literally walked almost every single step of this journey hand in hand. You moving to the States, keeping that flame alive in the States when you know the Taekwondo, let's call it, structures around you probably were not as strong, not as passionate, not as deep as you'd left them here in South Africa. How tough was that, not only on you maintaining the flame in martial arts, but on continuing on this journey towards seventh Dan Dim, if I may call it that?
Yeah, I think, you know, your word, it all comes down to what's your word. You know, and again, it's your word to your colleagues and a word to your word to yourself. We're only of our word. So, you know, I took a commitment firsthand to Jaren and I, to my late grandfather. And literally on his few moments before he passed, he had an emphysema, and he promised us to never stop training. So, you know, that was the first milestone for us, and he was you know, an integral part of our martial arts journey. The second was I made a commitment to Jaren, and when we passed our fourth Dan gradings, we looked at each other and we said, okay, seventh. So that was in Pyongyang in 2004, and it was grueling, and we had lost about 10 kilos that week. And so after the grading, we emotionally beat up. We looked at each other and we said, 7th, and that's how simple it was. So I think for me, it's always been about my word to myself and to those around me, and delivering on my word. And whatever the situation is, we creatures of habit. So we have to adapt or we die. And so, arriving in Los Angeles was tough from a time zone perspective. It was tough from a community perspective. All the ITF schools were in San Diego and San Francisco and on the East Coast of America. LA by default is a very transient city, and all the prior ITF instructors had relocated or moved. So it put me in a position where I was by myself, but at the same time, I had relocated with my company, and that was a priority at the time. So self-training became a lot more challenging. We were doing a martial arts. At the end of the day, you need a partner.
Yeah.
And so there were definitely dark days where I had to truly dig deep within to find the perseverance. So you have to just get your body back into state, do your incantations, reach out to your support base. At that time, as Jaren mentioned, we've pushed each other the whole time. I'd phone him and I'd say, Jam, I'm struggling. He'd say, come on, get back into it, push. And, we all have those days, like every high performance athlete or person with goals and objectives. So, you just keep it simple. Don't make things complex. Write down your objectives and just work at them every day.
Brannon, you talk about the fact that you arrived in California, very little ITF activity taking place there. Like you said, a lot of them had moved on to other cities. What is it looking like there now? I mean, obviously off the back of a lot of the work that you've put in and others, I'm assuming, but what does the foothold look like there at the moment?
I mean, martial arts is very, very prevalent in LA. It's a massive community. I think we go back to, 1962 in Long Beach when Bruce Lee showcased his 1-inch punch to the world.
Yeah.
He put martial arts on the map then. You got Chuck Norris who's in there. You got Hollywood. There's just so many layers within the martial arts community. And, and then of course you've got a massive movement through the BJJ movement, and, what the UFC does, pay-per-view TV in the States is, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So you can't neglect that. I think it's great. I think, as Jaren said, it's about every martial art. So LA is always been a challenge and will continue to be a challenge when it comes to ITF Taekwondo, in my view. And it's going to take many instructors to help change it. California has the largest Korean population in the world outside of Korea. There's over 1 million South Koreans living in California. It's a 9 or 10 hour flight or 11 from Seoul, and direct over the ocean, so it's Pacific. There's a WT dojang, on every couple of miles away from each other. It's ingrained in the LA culture that Taekwondo is this particular. It has this outfit, So I think there's still a perception. I think within the martial arts community, when you say ITF, that it's entirely attached to North Korea, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
So it's hard to change that perception amongst the Americans, but everything has its journey, and so we just surrender to the process.
Absolutely. Jaren, coming back to you, in terms of the accolade, I think it was August last year. Both of you were promoted to 7th degree black belt. for you here in South Africa, flying the flag, burning the torch out of Cape Town for the rest of South Africa and into Africa, as we know, what has the ripple effect started to be like for you, for ITF here across the African continent?
I think, you know, we've tried to reach out, and we have worked with so many African countries to try and make sure that they understand just the essence and the principles of Taekwondo, because then they can teach and take their students forward. And, you know, grading to master, we've had a huge amount of outreach towards us from leaders in Madagascar and Mozambique and Morocco and, you know, all over Africa, because, you know, Africa's tough. You know, they see a student wants to start, and in the culture, it's like, well, if he's a master, he's the guy I want to train with, you know, and that's always been something that we've kind of had to take a backseat with. And, you know, in Taekwondo, the philosophy of Taekwondo is lead by example, yeah? When young. And when we get older, we can use our voice to teach. But when we pass on one day, we need to leave a legacy.
Yeah, correct.
You know, for our students and for the art and what is the essence and so true that we hold close to ourselves. You know, so I think in Africa now, it's the guys were so excited when we graded to master. We've got students in Mozambique and Madagascar and everywhere on the phone, and we have messages from everyone. Our students back home here surprised us. It was overwhelming. We had cakes, we had all the families, we had all our students that haven't trained for years. I mean, just everybody was there, you know. And I walked in the dojang, and I never go to the dojang on this evening because, you know, other instructors teach and give them the space. Otherwise, I get a little bit nervous, you know. And then the next minute, my wife, who also teaches Taekwondo and was with us in Korea in the demonstration team, she's like, no, you must just go to the school. I just need you to help me because we can't get the lights on.
Ah, so she was in on it.
Jump on a call now. Yeah. I said to Romy, I said, I can't. I've got to jump on a call now. I've got a big call, you know. And she's like, just quickly. Meantime, our team, the people that were our team in work were in on it too. So the call was with them, and they had it all controlled, you know.
Okay.
And we came in, and everyone was so, yeah, it was so overwhelming. It was so amazing. And you know, that was like, for us, the journey just goes on.
Yeah.
You know, if we got the belt around the waist or we don't have the belt around the waist, it's how do we want to execute? How do we want to portray? How do we want to land and withdraw? How do we want to move? How do we want the art to become a part of us? You know, in how we can portray it at this level. So we are also ambassadors now, you know.
Yeah.
And it comes with quite a price because we have to keep that responsibility high, which means it's a lot of responsibility on ourselves just for practice. We can talk very easily, but now it's about being the masters that take it forward in our young age as we are and showcase Taekwondo how it needs to be showcased as a seventh dan. Because my whole life, every time a seventh dan was only the Koreans. You know, seventh dan uppers, these are the masters, you know. That's it. Yeah. And now all of a sudden I'm like, okay, well, we're here now. We have to be the same. No, I can't just now start talking from a couch, you know. It's I've got to be able to execute that technique perfectly. Then I stand true to what the master title is portraying. But Africa already have that understanding, that attachment. Africans raw, you know. Yeah. So the guys, when you get to master, they want. I mean, they've invited us to so many countries. They said, please come teach us. Come, master, please. I said, as soon as things settle with COVID, I will be there in a flash, I promise you. So we're looking at a lot of innovative ways too to try and keep the guys unified and stimulated and technical ability and understanding. We've got classes online, you know. So it's you know, we have this motivational chat in our company, and one of the things that we shared this morning is like, if times are tough, then say great times are tough. Because we need this. We need this to propel ourselves forward. We need to be in the tough times to realize what the good times are, to see the opportunity, you know, in the adversity, you could say,
yeah.
You know. So it's very important. And Africa, it's very difficult to have that relationship unless you hold the title to say, guys, you can trust me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm here to serve. I'm here to show you that you can be the best you can be. I'm here to serve. I'm here to help. I'm here to teach. You know.
Yeah. Brannon, from your side, the Ripple now, obviously lifelong ambition, something which, like you said, back at your fourth degree grading, you guys put that 7th in the air and you said, we're going for that. You've now achieved it. The ripple effect now for you, is that, I mean, Jaren talking about the fact that it is an ongoing ripple. It's not like it's hit a wall now and now it's where it bounces back. It's an ongoing journey for you guys. What has that ripple been like since the announcement date, August 2020?
I think, you know, it's quite an interesting juxtaposition, I think, for us, because, you know, for almost 3 decades, you've set a goal and an intention, and then you measured on that in front of an adjudication panel, and you have a syllabus. You know, there's no more gradings for us, so it's kind of weird in a sense. That we finished with the physical aspects of it. Now, as Jaren said, it's just really about nurturing now, and but I think that in itself gives you a clue, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because part of nurturing is serving. So, you know, we all martial artists, and you know, there's various philosophies, you know, but I think the one we can all relate to is Yin Yang.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same in our marriage. You have a husband and a wife. You know, it's the same in our business. You have the masculine energy, feminine energy. It's the same in everything in life. You know, the man is the hunter and the woman is the emotion. And so you could, in some degree, you could say your martial arts journey is the same in many ways. You know, we've cultivated the yang to the nth degree. And now it's about making sure the body's also changing. You know, we're in our 40s now. So, you know, the mind will always be youthful, but we also have to be realistic. So it's about bringing through the nurturing component now to balance, to restore. We've pushed for so many years with the yang. Now it's about restoring for me. So, and I think a part of that is serving. So you can't serve unless you can surrender. And so, as Jaren said, you've got to surrender the title of master. You have to surrender the title of president and this. You have to surrender all your medals. It's not about that anymore. It's irrelevant. You know, it's not about being the one that has the last word in the room. Now it's just about listening. So, you know, that's my stance. I think now I just want to listen and serve and add value where I can.
Final question to both of you, and Jaren, I'll start with you. Obviously, martial arts, sort of in its entirety, has got a very long and storied career, long and storied life, with you know, stemming from hundreds of years ago. You guys, as young as you are, you know, 40 and 42 respectively, are sitting in a situation where your masters, your young masters, Brannon, like you say, there's nothing left for you guys to achieve. I think for me, there is one other thing you need to achieve. It's those long gray beards that we've all become accustomed to masters wearing. Until you've got those, you will not be masters. Physically, in my eyes, to see you, you're still very young men, and hopefully that's going to continue for a very long time. But my final question to both of you: martial arts is an ancient science. It's an ancient art that has been practiced in many forms, many disciplines around the world. We're living in a very modern era. Yes, COVID, this global pandemic has fast-tracked a lot of technological advances. It's also probably brought people a lot closer together, unbeknownst to them. How for you guys as young masters is listening and driving these ancient arts, or this ancient art, forward in a very modern era?
We do need to tap into innovation. Definitely, we've realized substantially that, you know, Gen Z and the millennials, they receive completely different, you know, and we need to tap into that. We need to tap into it. We need to tap into. I've found that the kids today, they like to challenge you. They like to challenge you on technical. They also they want things yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, so we've got to be able to foresee that, understand the characteristics behind these youngsters that are coming up that are going to lead the art in the future. And it's exactly what they used thousands of years ago. Because you had all the emperor's guards, and these guys needed to strengthen and condition themselves and be at the peak of themselves to represent the royal family or to represent the emperor. And it's the same thing in modern day life. We need martial arts to represent ourselves, to understand ourselves, to get to understand the variable of congenital nature and just what resides with us. If we can build a more peaceful world within ourselves, we can build a more peaceful world that will ripple 1,000 miles and help another and another and another. And that's what martial arts is all about. It's about mind, body, and spirit. That is what Shen means, spirit. You know, and if we can connect all of those within ourselves, we can connect with that, with the future. And as Brand says, it's about listening. You know, we were trained by so many strong masters that we had no alternative but to listen. Okay. But they would just, you know, they would like this. And in Korean, by the way. We teach in Korean. Okay. So it's, you know, in fact, it's more difficult to teach in English for myself. And all our students know. I mean, the beginners get a little bit overwhelmed. They say, how do I ever learn this art? He's talking Korean. Yeah. I said, don't worry. How do you think they learn to get to know art? Yeah. And so if we can resonate with them, I mean, we've got all of a sudden this year a massive influx of teenagers. Why? Because they're all watching Cobra Kai.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And this is an influx that has come into, but we've got these characters, man. We've got the guys that will have the big red. They're in my class. And I'm looking at these kids, and it's like in the old days, it's kind of like, oh, this is a toughie. I'm gonna have to show him the hard way, yeah, because this is the language.
Yes.
But you can't do that with the guys today. They're way more intelligent than we were, you know. You know, to them, they've got to understand. Otherwise, if it doesn't resonate, there's no time for it, you know.
Well, I think
and that's where we got to delve into.
On that point, Jay, you know, when Taekwondo was created, it was on the back of the Korean War.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's an early martial art that came from, you know, if you look at the first 50 years from the 1900s to 1950, it was tumultuous. It was just carnage. You know, First World War, Second World War, then freaking Vietnam, then, you know, the Korean War. So it was also the start at the Industrial Revolution. So it was very much a hierarchical approach. It was about receiving orders and marching to them. I know I'm so conscious of time, but I think, you know, Jaren and our journey has been somewhat of a case study. You know, our instructor departed back to the UK when we were 18.
Yeah.
And so we had a choice. Do we take over the dojang and carry on training, or do we stop? And we decided to take it on. So 18 years old, to take on that type of responsibility, we navigated ourselves. Yes, we always had our grandmasters, but they were abroad. We didn't have that direct proximity, you know, for that reflection of how things should be done. So we, as what you could refer to today as Generation Z or millennials, we navigated our own journey. And so I think for us, that's a good case study, you know, on how we should listen to the next generation, because they have their own ways. They have their, you know, their technology. We just got to guide them slowly the same way our grandmasters guided us, and not deplete that enthusiasm and passion. We just guide it.
And lineage. Yeah.
Well, Jaren, Brannon, thank you so much for your time. I think this conversation has been long outstanding. I can't wait. Jaren, one day when you're up in Johannesburg, we can get you in front of the cameras, put you in on TV. We chat a little bit about Taekwondo and how it's going to be taken to the next level by you rather ungray bearded young masters. I look forward to watching the sport go from strength to strength under your guidance. Watch it in the years to come. Thanks for your time, and I look forward to chatting a lot more during the course of this year.
Excellent. Thank you for your time, Mark, and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. Thanks for your time, and thanks for your contribution to the sporting and martial arts community in South Africa.
Yeah,